segment where Right to Censor injured China's neck. Why am I saying China? What is
I
wrong
know.
with me? Hello, guys, one more time, and welcome to Ring Royalty. The Silver Crown is back on, and Alex Han, your first appearance in 2021. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Happy New Year to you and your followers.
Today, we're back with one more video of the best rivalries in women's wrestling. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's video number 5. It's been a while. I'm happy to be back. Excited to talk to you again.
We're going to start right with the rivalries because we have done our research, we've done our homework for this one. So let's start. Rivalry number 1 that we're going to talk about today is the oldest one on this list, and it would be Chyna against Ivory. This rivalry was from 2000. Chyna posed for Playboy. She was breaking the stereotypes as she was always in the men's division, but now with this Playboy cover girl thing, she had become a little bit more feminine, and they were trying to introduce Chyna into the women's division. After that happened, when Right to Censor, which was led by Ivory, came out and trash talked Chyna how she was supposed to be a strong woman, but it was an embarrassment that she was literally taking her clothes off for a magazine. That's how the feud started. It was really heated, and I think it was the first feud in a while that caught people's attention when it comes to the women's division, because we had in that time a lot of swimming pool matches, like gravy matches. Fans were not really taking women's wrestling seriously back then until the Ivory and Chyna feud.
Even if Ivory is like so much smarter than Chyna, she held her own in that feud. I mean, it was a kind of a physical feud because, like you said, it was more like eye candy back then than wrestlers. So I feel like it was something new for the time to have actual wrestling matches. Two girls that on paper aren't even on the same level, but in the ring, like that worked out.
I remember that, like you said, Ivory is no match for Chyna, like on paper, but they had the right to censor, like I think it was Balbines and the Godfather and some people that were over there we don't care about that they helped Ivory cheat to get like sneaky wins. And I remember the thing that was the smartest for me was when they did like a team up, like a double pile driver on Chyna, and she kayfabe injured her neck. That was the greatest idea because it put Ivory on the same level as Chyna because she was not at her 100%. So that would make sense because Chyna, you know, she's been fighting with Chris Jericho, Jeff Jarrett. So it was like, how is she not going to be able to defeat Ivory? But if she was injured, that's a different story.
Yeah, no, that added to the feud, like you said. That one, I think it elevated the feud perhaps until Chyna eventually won the title from Ivory.
On pay-per-view, they had 2 matches. They had the one at the Royal Rumble where Chyna kayfabe re-injured her neck. And then we had the WrestleMania one, like the big blow-up match, where Chyna just woman-handled Ivory and defeated her in under 3 minutes to win the championship for the first time.
Well, Chyna was like the big wrestler, but not just in size, but she was like over with the crowd. They cared about her and whatever she did. So who cares if it's a 3-4 minute match? She wins, that's what they want, that's what they get. When fans get what they want, they're happy. They don't care how long it lasts.
So when we talk about this rivalry, it was something that reignited the women's division. Basically, it was so refreshing, like you said, to see a real rivalry for the title. Which is your highlight of this rivalry?
Well, even like we said, it wasn't a long match. I would go with Chyna winning the title. So the WrestleMania, I think it was 20. Right to Censor weren't involved in the feud. It was like the two girls, no cheating, no shit from anybody. It was a clean fight.
My highlight would definitely be when Right to Censor injured her neck. And I remember they did it so well because back then we didn't have social media. So we didn't know that much the extent of injuries or if they were kayfabe or not. This was the thing that kept like interest on the fans on the rivalry. Because maybe if it was like a clean one-on-one rivalry, it wouldn't been that interesting because you know that Chyna, like people knew that Chyna was going probably to destroy Ivory. But they had a couple months to build up that squash match, and that made it special, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you can have China destroying your woman for like 3 or 4 months. So they had to come up with something to make it believable. If there's not that, after China wins the title, she gets a rematch, she wins again.
And that's it.
Perhaps they're not even in this video. Moving on to feud number 2 would be one between two underappreciated, I would say, women wrestler in history would be Victoria versus Molly Holly. So that feud started in a fatal four-way match in which Molly lost her title to Victoria, which eventually led to that WrestleMania Air versus title match. Ended with that match and Molly losing and getting shamed. Something I believe we hadn't seen. So that was high stake matches.
I've seen some interviews that Molly Holly was actually the one that came up with the idea, because they were not going to have a spot for the women's championship on WrestleMania, as they were having that Bunny Mania Playboy Fest or something like that with Tori Wilson, Sable, Stacy Keibler, and some other girl that I don't remember who. Molly Holly actually fought to get a spot in the card for the women's championship, and the only way like they agreed to it was getting Molly with her head shaved at the end of WrestleMania. So I mean, mad respect for her. Not a lot of women would actually shave her head for the sake of wrestling.
I know I wouldn't. I know.
When it comes to women's wrestling, like you said, a lot of women sometimes get underappreciated. And I think it was so nice to see a WrestleMania moment between two of the women that couldn't really shine or aren't recognized as much. It was such a huge moment. It was historic, as we haven't had that type of stipulation before. And we never got that back in WWE for women, especially on WrestleMania. It was something that didn't include Lita or Trish, who were basically the main girls in the roster at the time. So it was definitely a milestone, a once in a lifetime thing.
Like you said, refreshing for once to get new girls shining on the WrestleMania scene. And with that high of a stipulation, at the end of the match, like if you lose, you just don't lose the title. It's so much more than that. There's usually it's just regular title defense.
What will be your highlight of this feud? I know that before the highlights, I just forgot. You mentioned something before we started recording about like what happened after Mania.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going with my highlight, actually, which won't be the Mania match. And here's why. And after Mania, Molly would come out with different wigs every week, because she didn't want to show her now bald head. So that was a match that she had against Victoria on Raw, I believe, where they finally took the wig off. It was a very physical match. You could see Molly was much more aggressive than I remember ever seeing her. Yeah, that's something I appreciated. And it wasn't a high stake match, but it was well done.
All right, with my highlight, I am actually not choosing the Mania match either. Despite it was great, it was physical, it was a good match with a good stipulation, but I'm going with the star of the feud, because I remember that fatal four-way match between Lita, Jazz, Molly, and Victoria. It was great. Molly was the champion, but it was like an elimination style of match, so Molly was the first one out. And it's very unusual to see the champion like leaving in the first elimination of the match. So that created a shocker factor, because you didn't know who was going to be the new women's champion. And I expected Lita to win, actually. So giving it to Victoria added a lot, because I wasn't expecting her to become champion. And that's how they turned Victoria a babyface, so she could have a feud with Molly. So I think the progression of that, despite not being like originally planned, because they didn't have a women's title match planned for Mania, it came up smoothly, nicely, and it was something that a lot of fans would remember. For feud number 3, we're going with two women that are basically spectacular. There is no other way to say this. We're going with Lita against Mickie James. This feud was a must-do, in my opinion, because this happened after Trish Stratus retired, and the division has been dominated by Trish for so long that when she left, they actually needed someone to fill the gap. And the only two people that had enough star power to do it were Lita and Mickie. It was so great to see Lita back in the women's division. She didn't really have much interaction with the girls until Trish retired. And I think facing Mickie was a great way to make her be once again the prominent figure in the women's division. Lita took the title away from Mickie. So she became the champion, and that's why Trish had her last match against Lita for the championship. Then Trish retired, and then there was the tournament where Lita and Mickie fought in the finals again, and they restarted the feud. They had the match at Cyber Sunday, which was great. They had lots of matches on Raw, but with Lita taking like the advantage, whether it's Mickie, having an arm tied behind her back or her 2 feet tied together, until they had their final match that closed the feud at Survivor Series, which was Lita's retirement match.
Cheat without cheating herself, like you said, tying your arms behind her back, your legs together, and stuff like that. She was always finding shortcuts to win without actually cheating from Edge, outsider interference or stuff like that. So she was more shining over on her own, even though still being attached to Edge. Strong feud with a lot of story. Like you said, they had to find another top babyface, and Mickie was a logical choice.
And I think the main reason why this feud was so great, it was because Mickie James was already popular, but feuding against Lita, who was such a big heel, made Mickie become a relevant babyface. Because, Mickie was so popular when she was a heel, like she was Psycho Mickie. But feuding with Lita, and like you said, Lita using different shortcuts to win and stuff, it actually added to Mickie's transformation or turn to babyface. It felt organic. It wasn't forced, like, okay, today I'm a heel and tomorrow I'm a babyface for whatever reason. It actually had some story progression. The only thing that I dislike, which is not like part of the feud, but it was like the way, Lita retired.
Yeah, we don't like slut shaming. Stop. No, nobody ever likes it. So I agree that would be the only negative point, I guess, to the feud.
And she has said how she was uncomfortable and actually disliked the idea of retiring that way. But WWE didn't really give a crap. So that's such a shame.
It's not the first time they don't give a crap about what she wants. She mentioned, I believe, a few weeks back on her Twitch account that she wasn't comfortable doing the live sex celebration, and they're trying to fire her over it. It's Vince, I guess.
Right, let's go to the bright side again. Highlights.
The shortcuts we talked about, I thought it was well done. And it was like innovative. It's not something I believe any woman has done before. So, and that's Mickie could still win matches even with the odds stacked against her. I believe it was the one with her legs tied that she won. Like, I enjoyed that. Even if that happened, that Mickie didn't lost her momentum, I would say. Mm-hmm. Even if she was losing and even if she was being made fun of by Lita, that she could still shine and that she could manage to find a way to win.
My highlight would actually go after that blindfolded match, and it's not the match, it was Lita's promo. I don't know if you remember, and probably a lot of people won't remember, but in 2006, Lita's last year of WWE, the crowd was really vocal about their opinions they had towards Lita, and they were calling her slut and a lot of different names. And she cut a promo when she announced her retirement match was at Survivor Series, where she put on notice everyone and, kind of like remember all of her career and saying all the sacrifices that she made were for nothing. So fans were only disrespecting her. Like she mentioned when she injured her knee, she broke her neck, and how disrespectful and ungrateful everything was. That promo, I don't know if it was scripted or not, but it felt real. And despite Lita being the heel, I actually felt for her. She was stating facts. So I love that promo, and that's my highlight.
Yeah, she did a lot. And again, because I believe she was in Trish's shadow more, she doesn't get the recognition she deserves, perhaps. From fans. Not in the storybook, but from fans, I feel like some forget everything she did. So moving on to feud number 4, which is probably the one that people might be surprised about, I would say, will be Nikki Bella versus Natalya from 2016, which started after the Nikki versus Carmella feud, where for a few weeks, we know someone attacked Nikki backstage before Survivor Series, right? And we found out a few weeks later that it was Natalya because she was jealous of Nikki and she took her spot as the captain of the Survivor Series team, which SmackDown lost. It was built on jealousy from Natalya versus Nikki because Nikki has always been more in the fan eye side, I would say, over Natalya, which we often sadly forget about, I believe. They didn't have to have a crazy build up, the facts were just there. Even if wrestling wise, I believe most people would agree Natalya's better, Nikki's a so much better character. So that's why I believe she was more over with the fans than Natalya will ever dream of being.
For me, this is definitely Nikki's best run and probably one of Natalya's best work as well. Both of them were actually getting reactions from the crowd because Natalya was getting booed. Sometimes Natalya didn't get a reaction at all, and that's horrible because you're not like a good babyface or a good heel, you're just there. But in this feud, they were actually reacting to everything. Natalya delivers some good promos during this rivalry, which we haven't seen before. Also, Nikki Bella, for me, she's not a great actress, but despite all of that, she could connect with the crowd in this babyface role, and it helped both of them to elevate, themselves. The finish of this rivalry was the Falls Count Anywhere match, which in my opinion is the best match out of Nikki's career. I wouldn't say Natalya because she had a couple good things over the years, but probably Nikki's best match in WWE history.
It was the beginning of the transition into what we have now. So that was something new, I guess, and something we don't really expect from a woman, I would say, like Nikki, to go brutal and stuff because she's a pretty girl.
WWE didn't build up that much the match because it was on SmackDown, it wasn't a pay-per-view, but a lot of people remember it more than the Elimination Chamber match that they had because it ended in a double DQ or countout. I don't remember exactly, but I mean, it was such a memorable moment for both of their careers.
Yeah, and it's something that doesn't happen, like you said, a lot. Memorable feud have no title involved or no eye stake. It wasn't for a goal or something at the end. It was just two women fighting for the hell of it.
Out of all of these feuds that lasted like about 3 or 4 months, what would be your highlight?
I think that's the first time I'm going with a match actually in that video. But with the Falls Count Anywhere, it was fresh that it ended the feud like that. Yeah, I will go with that match. It was brutal. It was well done. There were spots from the ramps, from the tables, and still it didn't end in the ring, which really always happen, I feel like, in Falls Count Anywhere matches. So strong work from both women.
Once again, I'm not going with a match. My highlight is going to be another segment, kind of. So I love when Natalya was exposed by Carmella, and after a while she was like, you know what? I did it, you bitch. And I'm like, oh my God, she said it. And it was the first time that I remember something that has to do with Natalya's mic work. So for that reason, I would consider that as a highlight. It was the first time that she got a reaction from me when she was speaking. It actually felt real too, like with Lita's promo, that she was despising Nikki because she got all the magazine covers, the red carpets, all the events that Natalya should have, but didn't get the opportunity to. So it made sense, it felt real, and I always appreciate when promos feel real. For our fifth and final rivalry of this video, once again, we're moving to NXT because that's the T here. And we're going with Tegan Nox against Dakota Kai. Brutal rivalry, the most recent one out of all of these in the list. And I think it also makes this rivalry special, the fact that Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai at the time weren't probably the most popular or strong names in the NXT women's division. But having Dakota and Tegan break up and the way they did in that War Games match when Dakota betrayed her team, destroyed Tegan Nox's leg because she had a lot of history of leg injuries, and Dakota showing a vicious side that we have never seen like ever because she was usually this scared, colorful and bubbly girl. It completely changed the demeanor of the NXT women's division. It felt so good to see Dakota Kai breaking the mold of this scary little girl to become a superstar on her own right, and also gave the hype to Tegan Nox, which was good in the ring, but she was bland. She didn't have a character. So I think it helped both of them. It was something that nobody expected, actually. So it also makes it great. I love unexpected things that lately we don't really get, because even we get the number of entrants in the Royal Rumble match. So the element of surprise is leaving little by little, but that was something that nobody expected and something that I liked a lot. Also, it helped Dakota's character that she was coming out each and every single match after that attack with Tegan Nox knee brace, like just showing it to the world how, you know what, I destroyed her leg and I'm pretty proud of it. It helped to build the heel character that she is now, and it was something refreshing again, because like we have talked about, NXT always has great matches, but sometimes there is a lack of storytelling. There's just good match after good match, and this was nice for a change.
Yeah, that's true, because like you said, a lot of amazing matches, and even for the title, but without really any build up, I would say. It's not something I would have expected, because, and she's not one of those, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that she's just one of those annoying, cowardly heel. Like, some of them just run away and they don't ever fight, but her, if she needs to fight, she's going to do it.
After all of this, we need to finish the video with the highlights of the rivalry. I would go first. My highlight from this rivalry was definitely the street fight. I think it was the most vicious match they had. It felt like it was going to be, you know, the end game of the rivalry until Raquel Gonzalez appeared. It also looked like Tegan Nox was the one winning it and taking some revenge on Dakota, but it didn't happen. Dakota won with the help of Gonzalez. And it just was so refreshing to see such a vicious match, so personal, and once again, it didn't involve a title. So I was living for that match.
So my highlight would be the same as you, would be the street fight match, which was personal, and we believed it, we felt it watching the match from two women who I believe needed that feud to be where they are now. Tegan being gone, so I'm excited to see what happens when she comes back. Yeah, my highlight will also be the street fight match they had.
Alright, so this was the 5th part of the best rivalries in women's wrestling. Once again, it's a pleasure to talk about with Alex and about all of these different moments in the history of women's wrestling.
Thank you to you for having me again. We'll see each other hopefully soon. And again, as usual, if you think we forgot some or would like to see some, perhaps leave them in the comments and we'll see if we agree or not with them. Yeah, thank you again for having me. Thank you to everybody for watching as well.
I'm gonna leave Alex and YouTube channel over here if you want to check her content out. Here's my Instagram as always, because if you want to contact me, you can do it. And I will see you guys next week with new content and a new video. Goodbye!